President Trump, meanwhile, he's weighing in on Twitter saying it would be very hard for the leader of British Labour Party to seek a no-confidence vote against new Prime Minister Boris Johnson, especially in light of the fact Boris is exactly what the UK has been looking for and will prove to be a quite good one. Love UK. The pound plunging on this news of a suspension. I want to bring in Nile Gardiner. He's from the Heritage Foundation, the Margaret Thatcher Institute. Now, first, if you can, help us understand the rules of all of this, why it was important to suspend Parliament and why the odds are now that there will be a no-deal Brexit.
Well, I think certainly that this was a vital decision taken by Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, in order to ensure that Brexit actually goes through on October the 31st. And this, after all, is what the British people voted for. 17.4 million Britons voted to leave the EU in 2016. Boris Johnson wants to fulfil that democratic commitment. Therefore, he is suspending Parliament for just over 4 weeks, basically to ensure, really, that democracy can be implemented and enforced. So I think the Prime Minister has made absolutely the right decision here. Also, suspension of Parliament, or proroguing, as it's known in the United Kingdom, this isn't unusual. There is historical precedent for this. This is not some sort of constitutional outrage, as the Speaker of the House of Commons, John Bercow, described it. It's not a constitutional crisis. This is actually standard practice in some circumstances and not unusual. And I think that Boris Johnson here is demonstrating real leadership here. And at the end of the day, the British people just want to leave the EU. And with a suspension of Parliament, the chances now of anti-Brexit forces from derailing Brexit, I think, have been greatly reduced.
Right.
And so we're very much on course now for Brexit taking place on October the 31st. And as President Trump mentioned earlier today, Brexit will be great for the United Kingdom. Brexit will be great for the United States as well. So we're looking forward to Brexit coming in just 2 months' time.
No equivocation from Boris Johnson. He hasn't made these trips or pilgrimages to Brussels hat in hand. He's been distinctly different than his predecessor. What do you think the European leaders will do, though, because they've made a whole lot of threats about a no-deal Brexit?
Yeah, certainly. You've seen all sorts of threats coming from Brussels, from Paris and Berlin over the last few weeks. But you did see, actually, during the G7 summit, signals being sent by both Paris and Berlin that they are willing to revisit what is called the EU withdrawal agreement and possibly re-examine what is known as the Northern Ireland backstop. And Boris Johnson has made it absolutely clear there will be no deal with the European Union unless the EU agrees to remove the backstop, which ties Britain indefinitely to the European Union's customs union, which prevents Britain from having its own independent trade policy.
Right.
So Johnson has been crystal clear with regard to British demands. So let's see how the EU responds. My expectation, though, is that Britain is heading for a no-deal Brexit on October 31st, and Britain is going to do just fine without a deal with the EU. I think Britain will thrive and prosper in the Brexit era, completely free of the shackles of the European Union.
That is great to hear, Niall. You're the best when it comes to this. We appreciate you walking us Americans through that. Thanks a lot. We'll see you again real soon.
Thanks very much, Charles.